Welcome to the Rusted Garden. Today is June 17th. This is my second video in a series of seed starting a cherry tomato in the ground. And the reason I wanted to do something that sounds so simple as just starting your seeds in the ground is because I want people to go out and grow their own tomatoes. You don't need a fancy setup where you're starting stuff indoors if you don't want to. All you do is you just really need a growing season of about 90 to 120 days, and you just match a tomato where its maturity will come within your gardening zone. So anyway, this tomato is 7 weeks old. We did the first video on May 26th, and this tomato is actually now 3 weeks old, and it's growing pretty well. And in another 2 to 3 weeks, it will actually catch up to this because the temperatures now are what tomatoes love. 80-degree days, low 90 degrees, 60-degree nights, and the tomatoes are really starting to take off. The cherry tomato that I'm growing is an indigo variety. It gets that nice dark purple color when it's exposed to the sun. It has the anthocyanin in it. The variety is called Midnight Snack. It's a 2017 All-America Selections winner. And if you're interested in growing this tomato, I recommend you go to their website and you can find seed companies that are selling Midnight Snack. It's supposed to be a cherry tomato with flavor in the indigo family. And if you've grown them before, and I've done this, is the indigo variety is beautiful looking, but sometimes the flavor is a little bit lacking. But the Midnight Snack is supposed to have jumped that gap to having a beautiful purple tomato that gets that deep color from the sun, and it's going to have the sweetness of cherry tomatoes that you like. So the tomatoes here are now 7 weeks old, and remember I started with 3, we thinned them out. We're going to have to thin these down to 1, and I know people don't like doing that. Now the reason I kept 2 in here is just to show you what the growth looks like. You know, when these got to about this height, you could have just picked the strongest one, but these are going to be massive plants, so you do have to remove one, and I think I'm actually going to go with this one here. So I'm going to just remove this one. Ouch. We're going to drop in a stake. This stake will not be strong enough to take care of this tomato as it gets bigger, but we'll drop in a larger one behind it as the series goes on. Now if this plant was bigger, I would put the stake back a little bit further. You just don't want to put the post in or the stake in really close to the stem or you'll shear off a lot more roots. Go about 2 inches back, drop it in, good 6 inches, and we're just going to loosely start training the tomato up the stake. Done a lot of videos on tying them down. And the whole key is just leave a nice gap in here so that you don't strangle the stem as it grows. And I don't know if you can see this, but you can see the purple streaking starting in here. And this is all you need to start guiding it up. This plant is going to get massive in the next 2 weeks. In the next video, I'm going to talk to you about pruning this and how do you manage it for size. And this seedling is 3 weeks old. And remember, we started with 3 seeds. And we did that because there's a chance some of them might not germinate. And it's a good thing that we did because only 1 came up. So this plant's 7 weeks old, this plant is 3 weeks old. This was seed started when we were having colder nights, so it's not quite as tall 7 weeks down the line as this one's going to be. This one is going to take off. Tomatoes love the warm weather, so 80-degree days, upper 60-degree nights, these tomatoes are going to take off. Thin out, well, don't thin out actually, remove any weeds that are growing around your plant. I'm just going to take out a couple. And I'm actually going to pinch off the bottoms here. We'll do more pruning in the next video, but we're going to make a gap in here between the ground and the leaves. But what we're going to do today is just some simple side dressing. This is a 5-5-5 organic fertilizer. Just try and keep the NP and K around the 5-5-5. This is about a tablespoon. Just sprinkle it around the whole area. Nothing fancy. This is just a little bit of a top dressing. Just scrape it in to the top of the soil so it mixes in, gets wet, and as it rains and as you water, as that fertilizer is broken down by the soil biology, it will get to the root system. We're also going to give this a drink of liquid soluble fertilizer, and that's how I take care of a lot of my plants. Now these plants really haven't been fed yet except for an occasional toss of fertilizer as I'm watering my determined varieties back there. So every 10 to 14 days, a water-soluble fertilizer. We just did a top dressing. We'll do that again when the tomato actually starts forming fruit. We'll also put down some lime. But this is a 5-1-1 organic fertilizer. Just soak the leaves, soak it in. It's a little bit late in the evening, and sometimes people get stressed out that now that I've wet the leaves, disease are going to come. That doesn't happen typically with a healthy tomato. Of course, you don't want to have your tomatoes soaked with water all the time, you know, at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night and they stay wet. But I've got a good 3 hours left of daylight. This will dry. It's perfectly fine to put water on your plant. That's what nature does to the plant when the rain comes down. So don't get overstressed. Bottom watering when your plants are bigger and there's disease issues is a great idea, because it keeps the water down there and it's not going to spread any diseases that may be on the plant. But when you're little like this, or your plants are healthy, you can soak the leaves perfectly fine. Now we'll soak this one too. We're not going to grow it to full size here because these plants will compete, but I just want to show you how this looks in a couple of weeks when we come back and we do the rest of the video for this. So the other thing that we can do, if you wanted to now, is you could bring in your mulch and you could cover the ground. Right now I don't have it within reach, but just put down about an inch worth of mulch after you put down the top dressing, and that will again feed your plant. The mulch will help conserve water and keep it in there, but you could do that now, or you could do that in about a week. So again, all you really have to do is get a stake in the ground about 2 to 3 inches away from the stem, lightly tie it, a side dressing about a tablespoon of organic fertilizer worked into the top, and then start feeding this plant every 10 to 14 days with a water-soluble fertilizer. I'm using organic products for this part of my bed. If you're going to use a chemical fertilizer, go ahead and use it at 1/4 strength. You just don't need your NP and K to be as high as the chemical fertilizers are. That's actually what I think is the biggest drawback on them. There's some other reasons, but they just give you too much nitrogen. You don't want to overgrow the leaves of your tomatoes with too much nitrogen. So if you use the chemical fertilizers, use them at about 1/4 strength or half strength, trying to keep everything at a 5.55 or less. And if you're looking for new varieties of vegetable plants, check out All America's Selection. I'll put up the link on the screen. They bring to you every year, almost for the last 90 years, all these new varieties that are tested nationally, proven locally, and they're really, really wonderful varieties of plants that will succeed in your garden. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out my garden shop at www.therustedgarden.com. Thank you.